Hi students, this is Mr. Yao. In this lesson, we are going to start to learn more about system of inequalities applications. So first, we're going to start reviewing with some story problems. Example 1. Kieran is getting dinner for his drama club on the evening of their final rehearsal. The budget for dinner is $60. Kieran plans to buy some prepared dishes from a supermarket. The prepared dishes are sold by the whole pound. So there you go. That means your answer should be whole number at $5.29 a pound. He also plans to buy 2 large bottles of sparkling water at $2.49 each. Represent the constraints in the situation mathematically. If you use variables, specify what each one means. So constraints. Just since we're actually setting up inequalities because there's a budget, that's why these are called constraints, because they limit what kind of answers we may get. So the two things we have prepared dishes. We can actually just use letter P. And then we have 2 large bottles of water. We can just use letter B because it's about bottles. Now in order to calculate it, well, prepared dishes is $5.29. So it's 529p because that's the pounds of dishes. And then 2 large bottles of water, so it's going to be 2 times 249. Then the whole thing is under a budget, so it's going to be less than or equal to 60. For question A, it only asks us to represent. Then question B, how many pounds of prepared dishes can Kieran buy? So from that inequality, we can actually solve it. 5.29p plus 4.98 less than or equal to 60. Subtract the 4.98 over, then divide everything by 5.29. You should get p is less than or equal to 10.4. But at the same time, the question said whole pounds. So you need a number that actually satisfies this to make it work. So it's going to be 10 pounds. Okay, for question C, if Karen hasn't decided how many dishes and bottles of water to buy, write a function or expression to present the amount of money Karen may spend. And we have to use, in that case, the P and the B. Because P represents the dishes and B represents bottles of water. If he hasn't decided anything, we're going to need both variables. So it's a 5.29P plus 2.49P. Because 5.29 is the unit price for the dishes, and 2.49 is the unit price for the bottles of water. And then since we're writing a function, it's about money, so let's use M. And since it involves both variables, the P and the B, we're going to put them inside parentheses, P, comma, B. And that's how we represent the amount of money. There you go, that's example 1. Moving on, example 2. Hong is about to mow some lawns in his neighborhood. His lawnmower has a 5-gallon fuel tank, but Hong is not sure how much gasoline is in the tank. He knows, however, that the lawnmower uses 0.4 gallons of gasoline per hour of mowing. What are all the possible values of x? The number of hours. What are all the possible values for x? X represents the number of hours Hong can mow without refilling the lawnmower. Well, it's 0.4 gallons of gasoline per hour, and if he's mowing 5 hours, it's going to be 0.4 times x. That's the amount of gasoline he's going to use. And it's a 5-gallon tank. There's no way you can go more than that, so it's going to be less than or equal to 5. Right, one or more inequality to present the response. Here's another thing. Well, he can't start mowing if he doesn't have any gas in it. Also, he's gonna need to start mowing at least a little bit to start using some of the gas. So x also has to be greater than or equal to 0. And we're gonna talk more about this kind of inequality constraints in the next lesson. That's example 2. Moving on, example 3. Lynn's job pays $8.25 an hour plus $10 of transportation allowance each week. She has to work at least 6 hours a week to keep the job and can earn up to $180 per week. including the allowance. Represent the situation mathematically. If you use variables, specify what each one means. How many hours per week can Ling work at most? What is the range of money Ling could earn each week? Explain or show your reasoning. So first, let's see, $8.25 an hour. So that's going to be multiplied with the hour. So let's use H to present the hours that she can work. But then on top of that is a plus $10 of transportation allowance. So plus 10 up to 180 means it has to be less than or equal to. Up to means that you can't go over it. So it's less than or equal to 180. The other requirement is it has to work at least 6 hours. So H has to be greater than or equal to 6. These are the inequalities. Now we can solve them. For that one, you keep solving, subtracting the 10 over is 8.25. H is less than or equal to 170. And divide both sides by 8.25. H is less than or equal to 20.61. But at the same time, H is also greater than or equal to 6. So if you actually combine them together, we are going to get 6 is less than or equal to H, which is less than or equal to 20.61. Then it's also asking, well, the most amount of hours she can work is 20 hours. Because you have to work 4 hours, and the whole number that's less than 20.61 is going to be 20. What is the range of money Ling could earn each week? Well, if she works 6 hours, she can earn $8.25 times 6, then plus 10, which is going to be $59.5. If you chose to work 20 hours, it's 8.25 times 20, then plus 10. So again, it's not just 20.61. You can't use that number. That's not whole hours. So it's 20, and that's going to earn her $175. So her range of salary could be 59.5 to 175. There you go. That's example 3. Moving on, example 4. Diego's goal is to walk more than 70,000 steps this week. During the first 4 days of this week, Diego walked on average 8,019 steps each day on average. So that means the first 4 days, his total is 8019 times 4. Write an inequality and solve the following question. What is the average steps that Diego needs to walk during the last 3 days of this week to walk more than 70,000 steps? So average steps to walk for the last 3 days. Since it's steps, let's actually use letter S. For 3 days, so it's going to be 3S. So we're going to need to add the first 4 days of total steps and the next 3 days of total steps. They have to be more than 70,000, so greater than 70,000 steps. Finish solving, then you should get an answer, but you need a whole number that's bigger than whatever answer you got. So I'll leave the solving part to you. Moving on, example 5. Tickets to the aquarium are $11 for adults and $6 for children. An after-school program has a budget of $200. Budget means you can't go over it. Write inequalities to present the constraints. So $11 for adults, which is 11A, $6 for children, so 6C, they need to be added together to calculate the cost of the tickets. The budget is 200, which means you can't go over it, so it's going to be less than or equal to 200. Next, you can't exactly buy tickets for, say, -1 adult or -5 children. So the other requirement is our A has to be greater than or equal to 0. Well, you can choose to not have any adults. That's totally fine. And same requirement for the C, which is also greater than or equal to 0. So these two, again, we're going to learn more in the next lesson. They're called natural constraints. They're not exactly given in the question, but since it's a real-life situation, we also need some inequalities to make sure the situations actually make sense. Moving on, example 6. The soccer team is selling bags of popcorn for $3 each and cups of lemonade for $2 each. They have 35 bags of popcorns and 50 cups of lemonade. To make a profit, they must collect a total of more than 120. Well, popcorn, let's use P. Lemonade, cups of lemonade, let's use C. So we got 3P plus 2C It has to be more than 120, so it's greater than 120. And then, the popcorn we have to sell at least, we can't sell negative amount of popcorn. We're not getting any back, so we have to be greater than or equal to 0, but there's also other constraints. The question said 35 bags of popcorn. So there's no way you can sell like 36 bags of popcorn. So the popcorn has to be in between 0 and 35. So 0 is less than or equal to P, which is less than or equal to 35. That's how we actually write the inequality. P has to be in between, and then we also have C. It's also in between 0 and, you have 50 cups of lemonade, so it's 50, 0 and 50. 0 is less than or equal to C, which is less than or equal to 50. That is example 6. Moving on, example 7. 2 kinds of tickets to an outdoor concert were sold, long tickets and seat tickets. Fewer than 400 tickets in total were sold. Long tickets cost $30 each and seat tickets cost $50 each. The organizers want to make at least $14,000 from ticket sale. Write inequalities to present the constraints. The long tickets and seat tickets, so let's use letter L to represent the long tickets, and letter S to present the seat tickets. At least $14,000. Well, we have 30 L because 30 is the long ticket price, and then 50 S because 50 is the seat ticket price. They add together, they need to actually be at least 14,000. So it has to be greater than or equal to 14,000. But we're not done. There's more. Fewer than 400 tickets. I'll represent the long tickets. Let's represent the seat ticket. Fewer than 400 tickets is basically saying in total, both the long ticket and seat ticket together is less than 400. So L plus S is less than 400. That's fewer than 400. But since you are not like getting tickets back, you're actually selling them. So there's a requirement that the L has to be greater than or equal to 0, and the S has also to be greater than or equal to 0. These are the natural constraints again. That's example 7. And that is everything for this review story problem lesson. Thank you.